Craftersmark reached out asking if I would do a build video for one of their floating shelf products. I checked it out on Amazon, I read all the reviews, and it looks really impressive. So I thought I would check it out. I was happy to do it for them. So they sent me one of the product here, so we're going to unbox it, we're going to put it up, and we're going to see how well it really works. I'll put an Amazon associate link in the description, and also I'll put a code for a discount for all my viewers so you can get a little bit better deal than what's listed on Amazon. Let's check it out. It was actually mailed in quite a bit bigger box than this, and then this was just inside, but I figured I would eliminate that anyway, just to make it simpler here. So let's get it open, and we'll see what we get. So, as you can see, everything is packaged really, really well. So I've got the 2-piece set. So it comes with 2 shelf brackets. So how this is going to work, you're going to end up drilling a hole into the wooden shelf itself and inserting this in. And, this gets secured to the wall, and then you insert the wooden shelf around this. And because these are fairly long, you get quite a bit of stability. But we'll walk through that in a bit. So we've got the 2 shelf brackets. Got some mounting hardware depending on how, what type of material you're putting it in. I will probably try to go straight into studs if I can, so I won't need any of that hardware, but I will definitely add that hardware to my stash over there and use it for something one of these days. All right, so it comes with a router bit. Now the purpose of the router bit is going to be on the back of the wood. We can run this around and route this out so this fits completely inside the wood, so that that'll help make it totally hidden. Let's put that back. And there is the drill bit, and again, that's going to be to drill in the back of the wood, and that way you can insert the tubes directly in the back of the wood to provide the stability. And we've got I guess this would be some type of plastic. This is going to be the router template that we're going to use to route out the hole in the back of the shelf. That way that fits in and it's completely hidden. All right, so I've got to pick out a piece of wood first. I'm going to get that done, and then we'll come back and check this out. I'm really excited to get this going. I ran to Rockler to grab a piece of wood. They had a slab that I really liked. I really don't have any thick wood, although I've got a ton of scrap wood. I really wanted these shelves to have a very beefy look. I learned something when looking at this wood. It lists the thickness as 9. So that's 9 1/4-inch pieces. So effectively it was 2 1/4 inches. I need to get one straight edge on the wood. I don't have a track saw, so I'm using a straight edge and clamps. I'm going to cut it off with my circular saw, making a few passes, just lowering the blade a little bit each time. So at first I wasn't quite far enough away from the split, so I had to add more to do it again with a straight edge. My circular saw only goes 2 inches deep, so I had to use a hand saw for the remainder. I'll sand it to get the edge as smooth as possible. I do have an old Montgomery Ward planer that was gifted to me, but I haven't had time to get it working yet. I'll use the level to make sure it's perfectly flat. I can't see any light under that level. I'm going to check the 90 degrees with a square to make sure I didn't get it off at all. And now that I've got a straight edge to reference, I can run the wood through the table saw to clean up the other side. And again, this is thick wood, so it's going to take a couple of passes to get all the way through. But luckily my saw does cut through 2-inch thick wood. Alright, I got the wood pretty much prepped. Still need to do some sanding, some cleanup, but I'm going to go ahead and cut it lengthwise. Again, this is going to turn into 2 shelves, so there should be plenty of room, and I'll have just a little bit left over. I'm going to go ahead and get it cut lengthwise, then I'm going to clean it up a little bit. I've still got a few burn marks I just need to sand away, but other than that, it looks good. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull out the kit that came with the brackets. Like I say, there's a router template and then a router bit, and recess a hole in here that I can insert the bracket in, so when it goes on the wall, it'll be perfectly flush with the wall. Just going to make a clean edge and then cut the boards to the desired length. And another bit of sanding. You can see how the template fits on the wood. Just make sure it's centered in each direction. Then I put on the drill guide. This is going to keep the auger bit perfectly straight up and down as I drill the holes. On the first pass, I forgot to get the setting right on my drill. I had to slow it down and get more torque. Then it did a much better job, but it still takes a little bit to get through that much wood. But once that bit grabs, it starts really going into the wood pretty quickly. Once the holes are drilled, I'll route out the wood on the inside of the template. This will let the bracket hide inside of the back of the shelf. Now let's move on to the second shelf. Get the template and the drill guide screwed into place. And back to more drilling. Doing a quick sanity check before I route out the space for the bracket. Just want to make sure the bracket fits the holes correctly. Now let's route out the bracket inset into the wood. Not sure if that's what you call it, but that's what I'm calling it. The router makes quite a mess. Quick cleanup with the dust collector. I'm going to remove the template. And now we can see how the bracket goes totally inside of the back of the bracket itself, or in the back of the shelf itself. This will make it totally hidden. It'll appear to float on the wall. I was trying to pick a stain color, so I put samples on a piece of cutoff of the slab. I had a few more stain colors than I remembered. Now back to more sanding. There's a lot of that when prepping a slab for something like this. Gonna put down some paper before I stain. I'm trying to minimize the mess as much as I can. And now I'm starting to apply the stain. Not going into detail on staining. It's definitely not something that I'm very good at or that I even consider myself an expert on. This is where I'm going to install the shelves. This is our guest bathroom. It's a pretty small bathroom, doesn't have a lot of storage. We thought about putting a cabinet above the toilet, but we figured that would make it look even smaller. We figured the open shelves would provide some storage, but also still make it feel kind of open. Making a mark at the center of the wall. I'll line up the center of the bracket with this mark in a little bit. I'm going to draw a straight line where I want the bracket to go, using a level to make sure we aren't getting off too much. I'm going to use a stud finder to find the location of the studs. The included kit comes with hardware if you can't find a stud, but I always prefer going into a stud if at all possible. Put in a screw into the mark I made where it shows the stud. Then I'll level the bracket and add another screw. Now let's bring in the shelf itself. It actually went on very easy. I was expecting to have to fight it a bit. Now just check the level on the shelf and it looks dead on. Now we'll add the second shelf. Just like before, we'll make a level line, mark the stud location, make a mark for the screw locations, and secure the bracket to the wall. Now I'll bring in the second shelf. Fits perfectly, and I think it looks amazing. All right, there you go. I got the shelves installed. This was a pretty easy install. I mean, if you've got basic DIY skills and a few tools, you should be able to do this same install for yourself with no issues. The quality of the bits they sent, both the drill bit and the router bit, were great. Didn't have any issues at all with them. This was fairly hard wood and it cut right through it with no problem. These Craftersmark shelves are great. The hardware is phenomenal. Definitely, there's no flex in there at all once you get them up on the wall. Go check out the description. I'll put a code so you can get 25% off if you want to buy some for yourself. I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you. Y'all have a great day.